So I guess before we start, what character do you play?
Um, so my main is actually Dr. Mario, which I'm sure is an unusual
Okay, no
for
worries.
you. But I'd like to work on Doc, and also I know that Doc's like a lower tier, of course, so
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure I secondaried someone a bit better. So I like to play Lucina as well.
Oh, that's a very solid choice. Okay.
Yeah,
And then follow-up question: do you have any experience with Olimar?
uh,
I ask
I know what
because
he can do, but
usually at the
I
beginning
never
of a
really played.
session, if someone isn't too experienced, I don't go Olimar right off the bat because there's a lot of just kind of information overload. So we can ease into it. Maybe I'll play some more traditional top tiers to start, and then at the end,
Hmm.
if you'd like, I can go Olimar and give you that. That usually just
Yeah,
works a bit easier for whoever to play with. But that's fine. You can go Doc. I don't care if you go Little Mac. Really, it's your time. If you feel like you want to play the
okay,
character, that's the important thing, really.
yeah. I understand what Olimar does. Like I know, like the white Pikmin do more damage. Blue is for throwing. I
Yeah.
know how like the yellow Pikmin work and the properties, and the red does more damage. Purple does
Yeah.
black, like all that.
Okay.
Um, I know a little bit about the up air combos and such. Ah,
So I
yeah.
usually say this before the game, but I think I just ended up getting into it a little too fast. Um, so usually like to get a couple of games in before I get an idea of where you are as a player, things you're doing, and stuff like that. So I would definitely want to play another game, and then we can kind of talk about some stuff. But just as a way to maybe forward the conversation in a way that you tend to benefit from, what are some issues that you feel like you're weaker in, or areas that you're not really at the level you want to be that you might have wanted to touch on going into this? Because obviously you take coaching because you're like, I'd like to get better, but maybe there are things that you notice that you're weaker on.
Um, well, there I was like kind of just flubbing a little bit. I haven't really warmed up, but
For sure.
I feel like what I usually want to do is I think I just need to get better at like predicting options and understanding options. Sometimes I think
Okay.
like I can practice the combos all I want and stuff, and I can do that, but uh,
So
I
you're
think
more
I
like a
noticed
like
like
a situational awareness type of thing and recognizing how certain options may pan out.
yeah, and to get like better spacing for different kinds of characters and
Okay.
and whatnot.
Yeah,
Just
that's fine. Um, So we'll play another game, and then we can try and touch down on some topics or things that I like to keep in mind. That is one of those general things that I notice with a lot of players I touch down with, where they might struggle to really break down the game or kind of break the autopilot in a sense and really focus on certain bits of information as they go through. So after this, I'll see if I can pinpoint any scenarios, and not even, then I can still give you some general ways to start working on that. By the way, I'm not sure if you do. I do have random stage sets, random switch set, if you do want to alternate between the random legal stages.
Okay, yeah, that's actually what I play with too. Like I have a practice set for that.
Gotcha.
Ah.
Oop, messed that up. Didn't jump. So, right off the bat, a couple things I'm noticing. One, your out of shield game is really slow. And it's like, so Doc really well known for his out of shield option with up B, right, or even neutral air. And I feel like there's a lot of times where you're letting me hit you, and you're just not doing anything. I'm not threatened to be around you, which is not something I generally get when I'm around Dr. Mario. You've got that great up smash, super decent or super solid range, great great kill power, pretty fast too. Up B, super quick, great get off me option, especially if I hit you with like one of those aerials or something like that. You know, Wolf's not really spacing an aerial. That's going to be like outside of very, very well spaced aerials. Most things are going to get hit by that that up B out of shield. So I think you can be a little bit faster there. Do you feel like maybe your reaction is a little bit slow there, or you're just not thinking about it? Why do you feel like you maybe don't pull back to those options as much?
I think I think my reaction's more so slow there, especially because sometimes I think I sometimes think to myself, or like I overthink in a brief moment
Yeah.
of like,
Okay.
I know that I should just sit there and shield, especially if you're approaching from the air.
Yeah.
There's not anything else you can really do other than just land, and then I can kind of
For
react
sure.
to that. But
For sure.
sometimes in my head, I'm thinking also in like the back of my head, I'm thinking like I should try to roll or spot dodge or do some. I don't know.
Kind of talking about the thing initially where you were like that situational awareness. So if I'm around you, you kind of already have recognized the first part of it. You know that I'm around you and you might need to sit and shield, you might need to do something. But it's reinforcing those habits, those mindsets, and being confident in your option there, right? Sure, I could mix it up, and I could, empty hop grab you or something like that if I'm really good about it. That's just a risk. You might have gotten outplayed, and if you get outplayed, you go, all right, he mixed me up there. I got to be ready next time. But at the same time, when I'm also in the air like that, you could be mentally preparing yourself, be ready to up B, be ready to narrative shield, be ready to pick an option that's going to let you punish me. Because if you're waiting to get hit and then react to something, especially on Wi-Fi where it's even worse, you're probably too slow. Because if I'm hitting you with an aerial that's like -6, and you have to get hit and then recognize I got hit. The buffer and all that shit, it's gonna kick in. It's gonna take too long. But if you're like ready to
Yeah.
get hit and then you recognize it at that moment, then you're gonna be able to be better about it. And that's one of the nice things about this game is there's hit lag, there's shield stun and stuff like that. And those like kind of freeze frames give you time to catch up almost. So allow yourself to do that and be confident in your options. So in this next game, I really want you to just try and like use those options. Don't try not to overthink. Obviously, that's difficult at times, but be confident in whatever you're choosing at first and try and go for it. And if it doesn't work, then you can be like, okay, that didn't work. Why didn't it work? Identify the issue, and then maybe try and come up with a new solution for next time.
Fair.
That downer I did on you would have been a great place to up beat.
Just thinking out of my head. As soon as I did that, I was
That's all
like, why
right.
did I
You
do
just
that?
try and be better. There you go. Try and be better for next time.
Oh.
That's the Dr. Mario struggle right there. It's a little bit better there in some ways. I liked how you were trying to be a little bit quicker on your options. I think that it's kind of like a muscle you have to train up, right? Your ability to react appropriately. So another thing we can do, and this is something that you're going to have to consistently work on, and it's something even pro players make sure to hold themselves accountable for, is let's talk about that situational awareness. So we get into an interaction, and something happens, and you're going to pick an option, and it's likely I would say at your level, especially if you're not super aware of it, it's going to be very autopilot, right? So you might just like your muscle memory and your instinct kicks in, and that's good. That's how you essentially are going to play the game most of the time. But you can dial in those moments, either beforehand or in your case, especially when you're learning after, or even in my case when I mess up after, and be like, what happened? And a great example is in that game, I knocked you into a tech chase situation, right? And then you teched in place or you got knocked away, and then I ran up to you and you immediately spot dodged. Now, you spot dodge because you assumed I was going to immediately go into a hit. And what I do, I charge down smash. And I think I mistimed it a little bit, so you shielded, and then you tried to shield grab it, missed. I hit you again with another one. But what the point of that is, okay, so I hit you, you go to spot dodge, and it misses. Now, do you remember exactly what scenario I'm talking about?
I do. I remember because then I think I
Rolled, I
rolled
down
away,
smashed you again, and then you died on the other side.
and then yeah.
Okay, so when I hit you with that initial down smash, or when I put you in that initial situation where it started with like the tech chase, spot dodge, yada yada, right? Do you remember, or at least have an idea? Do you think you were in control of that spot dodge, or do you think it was like a panic, instinctual spot dodge? It's okay if you don't know. It's more of a thought exercise to really get you kind of aware of it.
For me, I'm usually not a spot dodger.
Okay.
That's like usually on the options I go left. I think that was probably an accident.
Okay. So let's assume it was an accident in this case. It happens. Everyone makes tech errors. That's just something that sometimes you get nervous or sometimes you just make mistakes. That's human. But those options, right? A lot of times people spot dodge in that scenario because they are scared of an immediate follow up, so they pick an option there. And I can almost guarantee the more we're going to play these games, while you might not spot dodge in every scenario, you will have options like that, those panic kind of safety nets that you play, the shield, the roll, right? So
Yeah.
it's fine to go for those. But when they don't work, you have to take a second. So like when I punished your spot dodge there, right? When you tried to grab and it didn't work, those were two specific examples where you could ask yourself, what did I do wrong, right? So you would go, all right, well the first spot dodge was bad because I waited. So you recognize that your opponent waited. And you go, all right, well I got to be more careful there. And then it's like, but he didn't punish right. But then I tried to shield grab a down smash. You didn't recognize the spacing. You just said I got hit, I can try and shield grab it. You weren't allowing yourself to pay attention to all the information there. You know, maybe that was one of those down smashes where you didn't have a punish. You know, that tipper wolf down smash is big. It has a lot of range. So maybe your best option would have been to just jump away or drop shield, do something. You know, there's a lot of different stuff you can play around with there. So it's like, all right, you got punished. You end up getting punished for that whole scenario. So you couldn't have been good enough. You weren't able to have the answer that time. But in the future, you can try and remember that. You can try and recognize it. So when you're shielding again, or when Wolf down throws you again and puts you in another tech chase situation, you're like, ooh, I better be ready this time. He was ready for my spot dodge last time. Let's see what he does this time and hold shield, right? And you're going to have to start out by kind of calling yourself out to hold yourself accountable more retroactively. So you'll be like, in that scenario, oh man, I messed up there. What if I try doing this next time? And just, recommend that idea to yourself, or at least acknowledge that you made the mistake, and then next time try to be better. And the cool thing about it is the better you get at it, the more it kind of like rewinds back. So eventually you'll get good enough at recognizing it right as it happens. And then eventually you'll be able to sometimes catch it before it happens, because you'll be like, oh, I've been in this scenario before. I've had him down throw me here. Let's look at the available options in the game. And it gets increased by recognizing what each character can do. Like if I'm facing you, my back air is relevant. That doesn't matter. Those things don't matter. It's like, what can I do relative to you now? My up air is not going to do anything. So you can kind of fine tune your answer to certain options. And it's a lot. Okay. It's a lot of stuff I just said, but just in these next few games, just try and pay attention to when you lose interactions and try and ask yourself why. Just give yourself the ability to acknowledge it so that you can catch them faster.
Okay.
You gotta remember that forward smash on him is pretty safe. You can definitely punish it if you're up close, but if the range is too far, you might not be able to catch it. Oh.
That's the stupid dot combo. That sometimes just get people.
Yep. No, that's what he does. You just randomly die sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. There we go.
I think outside of like two specific scenarios I can remember, I think I reacted with like prepared for my shielding better.
Okay, I see what you're saying there.
But forward smash, I shouldn't have ran forward like that. I tried to go for a grab there, which was yeah, definitely not safe. Um,
It's you kind of build like almost like an encyclopedic knowledge in your head where you're like of situations you've been in. You're like, oh, I've been hit by Wolf F Smash before. I know I have to do this answer to punish it, or So once you start to recognize them more clearly, then you can answer them appropriately each time. Because if you just get hit by it and go, oh, I messed that up or whatever, you don't really recognize why it went wrong or why something happened, then you're gonna have a much harder time to you're gonna have a much harder time recognizing it, right? Like if you, I'm trying to think of a really good example. So you might do this. It doesn't matter if you do, but you know how like sometimes players will lose. I'm like, oh man, I shouldn't have lost, and they'll get like really mad and they'll rage, right?
yeah,
And they'll just run it back. 100%. If they're not already like a really strong player relative to the people around them, they're not paying attention to why they're losing, right? And they're just blindly going in. And yes, you will subconsciously learn, but you can still. And that'll do it eventually. But imagine how much faster you can go if you go, I'm losing because of this, right? It's okay to be like, man, I'm annoyed that I'm losing, but I'm losing because I'm doing this wrong. And then you can start to recommend solutions and work through it trial and error. And that's why practice is so effective, because you can try different things until they work. And the first step to that is acknowledging it. And that's probably the most common thing I teach with my students, is teaching them how to recognize why they're losing or why they mess up or why things don't work. Because no one goes into a match thinking, I'm going to lose.
yeah. I tried to parry that.
Yeah, fair enough. I've missed plenty of those. That was a good job.
Damn it, I'm trying to drop through that platform.
Platforms are stupid sticky in this game.
Yeah. I should have back there.
I was like, you let me do a third one? All right. like right there, right? I was ready. I was like, I feel like he's gonna counterattack, and it was funny. The last stock when you were getting ready to kill me, where you like ended up grabbing me or something. There was a time where you could have upbeat me, and I was like, oh, he didn't do it. But I feel like I didn't want to risk it that time, right? So I was like, we're just gonna straighten to shield. I'm about to die, but you see what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Um, it it's so and you're definitely, even from the beginning of the game, I feel like you're getting a bit more into your groove. And I know you said you had a couple tech errors, and that's normal. I can definitely see you getting in there. It's just kind of focusing on what your character's strengths are and trying to play to those advantages. So, like you said, you get the Dr. Mario combo where it's like, bam, I'm dead out of nowhere. That is something he does, right? As cheesy as it can be or whatever, Dr. Mario's get that. I fight Dr. Mario. I remember I played like Louis Money, right? And he was like, down to big bang. I'm dead at like 30. And I was like, what? It just happens. So if you can recognize situations to get those, that's even better. And then another one of your strengths is your out of shield game. So you need to abuse that as best you can. And I see you getting a little bit better, and it's just going to take time. Do you feel like you are... I want to swap up characters again.
I guess two things I'm kind of wondering is, one thing you've hit me with multiple times that usually like confuses me, because from my perspective, it would seem risky for you to go to a side B on stage like that when you predict me running away from ledge.
Yeah.
And right as I do that, you go for a side B, which seems like a risky option to me, but you do it and it does work. So
it's recognizing that you're not oftentimes ready to punish it, or I'll do it at spacings where it's really uncomfortable to punish, right? So maybe you're closer to the ledge, and then I'm like, bam, side beat way past you, or you're running, right? And you're like, I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely not perfect, and I'd probably go for it times where there might be a better option. But to me, it's recognizing where you are relative to me. Like, if you were just standing right where I'm going to side beat and you were shielding, I'd be like, no, I'm all right. Or I might change the distance to make it, because you saw how like I can angle it up or down, and depending on where I can go right at the ledge or way past. So that's how I'm looking at it. It's like an extra option for me, or maybe I can catch you slipping, because I did hit you with it a few times. So that's me paying attention to where you are and going, I think I can catch him with this. And until you give me a reason not to, I'm going to keep doing it. Right? So it's like that's the type of logic I would use. It's like, if you're not going to punish this option to a point where I feel like I can't use it anymore, I don't have a reason to stop using it. But I also... sorry, go on.
Oh, I was going to say, the other question I have kind of is, or that at least I'm thinking about, is,
yeah.
So you've talked to me about the, like, out-of-field options already and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Let's say, I'll just use top players here. I can't really predict, some other players.
Okay.
I'll see improve or something.
For sure.
But, like, if I was a top player, right? Do they often expect to be punished? Like, if you were to use like a wolf nair right on my shield, would you just assume that you're going to be punished, or would you still hold shield as you land in hoping that you wouldn't?
It depends. So there are times where I will space a move. I can generally tell if I'm spacing a move poorly, or like if I have spaced the move poorly once I've got it out. Yeah, against like a player who's smart, I'm going to be aware. Like if it's a Game & Watch main, I know the beast's coming. Right?
Yeah.
So I might try to play in a way to where I can use a move that's like safe. So if I was playing Olimar in this case, and I'm fighting a Game & Watch, I might like tipper space him with like an F smash or like a back air to see, like, I know he can't catch me, but maybe bait it out of him. Or maybe I'll like run up and shield. Because there are times where I know if I hit him, yes, I will get punished sometimes. And maybe that's me just feeling it out in the moment, seeing what he's doing. Or maybe that's me not executing properly. Or I could just have a game plan that wasn't the right one for that. That happens. So I definitely do attack players with the... I don't want to say I always assume they'll do it, but it's definitely in my mind, are they going to use their button? And if they don't, or if they're a little slow, that's something I can take note of. If I'm fighting someone, I'm like, oh, they're a bit slow on their this out of shield. I can be like, all right, let's see if I can exploit that. But against top players, I do have to very much keep that in mind all the time. Like, I played ESAM the other day, and if I touched his shield, I'm eating a nair, I'm eating a back air every time. So you have to get creative and maybe bait it out, or maybe hit them with things they think they can punish, but they can't. Because there is a lot of ambiguity when you get the spacing, like my down smash did. So I'm going to swap it up. I want to keep throwing some different characters at you, and just so it doesn't get too static. But, yeah, just keep trying to do what I said. After this game, I want to ask you something else about how the game's going, and we can kind of get like a point of speaking from there.
Uh, yeah, like,
All good. Trust me, I flubbed more than I would like when it
yeah.
matters. Oh, all right. What?
Wow,
Was
that's
not ready
not
for that one.
right.
One other thing I'm noticing, you tend to rely on pill a lot, and I think that's like a way to maybe ease into approaching when you're unsure of how to do it. I
Mhm.
always do say, once again, I don't play Dr. Mario at that level, so I don't want to maybe tell you not to use it, but it's worth looking at if you're getting punished a lot because it is a very laggy option. You're not Mario flying around with fireballs, right? It is a
Yeah.
committal, shoot that out, especially because your airspeed and your recovery, you have to be a little bit more mindful. So maybe when we're up close, you might be better off trying to use some movement to kind of bait me out or do things as opposed to shooting those pills out, because if you miss it or if I run under it, you open yourself up for potentially big punish. Um,
Yeah.
but that's just something to think about, playing around these different ways to go about it. Sometimes just movement or taking it slow, that can be just as threatening as shooting out an actual projectile or move. Um, so in these games, I know we haven't played too many. Do you feel yourself trying to at least catch when you're making mistakes and think about it a little bit more, or how is that compared to before we talked about it?
Um, I think in that game I definitely well that game yeah I definitely had many flubs. I was like but
It
for that game
it's okay if you don't have it or if you don't know that it's just I
yeah
once
I
again
know
I'm
I
trying to
should have used
reinforce
my
it.
pills better. I do like the pill. Well, the pill is like uh I don't know. It's like the one projectile I have, and also
For
if
sure.
I like B too, and I my Dr. Mario moves with the momentum of the pill.
Yeah, you can get some nice
One thing
combos
that I
off it,
have
right?
gotten on some people, maybe this doesn't always work on better people, but like if I hit him with a pill near ledge, I can just raw back air
Okay, and then that'll
like right
kill
after the
usually or
pill, and
something
that
like that.
connects
Yeah.
into itself.
And I'm not telling you not to use it. Like, it's just when it doesn't work, go back to the drawing board and recognize that it's not working. So that's what a lot of
Yeah,
these games are going to do the most for you is if you can pay attention, I hit a shield this way and it didn't work, or oh, I did this. It's not even always about the pill or whatnot. It's any situation where it's not going as maybe you initially planned. That's unfortunate. I didn't. I didn't
Oh,
take it. That was pretty good though. I noticed you were holding shield a lot more there, a lot more comfortable, which I think is important too. Like you recognize
yeah.
I can do a lot, and Greninja has solid shield pressure if he spaces it right. But I'm gonna be honest, there's not a lot of shield pressure that's so good you're not getting Dr. Mario at beat, right? Because the
Yeah.
speed is what really makes that difference. Um, you were able to catch me pretty well there, so I think that was really good. And that's you got that game. Now it's up to you to make sure that you can keep adapting and keep paying attention to these things as we go into the next game. I changed up my strategy.
Mhm.
Wow.
I DI'd out. I just knew I wasn't making that one
Gotcha.
back because I
Gotcha.
jumped right into it.
Oh, true, true. You let me get away with so much.
Yeah. There we go. All right, you should have up there probably, but
Hey, whatever gets the kill.
yeah. Uh oh.
Oh, that was unfortunate.
Damn, I thought I was landing on stage for that.
Some unfortunate stocks there that I felt like ended up messing you up. The first stock, yeah, you got sniped on your jump. Second stock, I feel like you just miscalculated, which definitely happens. And third stock got a really strong string on you that ended up kind of putting you in disadvantage, and then it was only a couple hits away.
Yeah.
Do you? I guess going from that game to the last game, I know different stage going to cause a different kind of interaction. How were you feeling that game? Because I noticed that you were tended to be a little bit slower. You were less assured of certain things, and you were letting me get away with a lot more.
Yeah, there's one thing that I noticed. I'm starting to pick up kind of like an introspective thing.
Okay.
So I tried to roll behind you. I was gonna grab and back throw.
Yeah.
Like when you were at a higher percent.
Yeah.
Just because I knew back throw would probably kill from there.
Okay.
And then when you came back on stage, or like I got you off stage, I think I don't remember what I hit you with, but on like the left side of the stage, I think
Okay.
on my first stock, or maybe second stock. And then since I had that like goal in mind of like I was gonna back throw you there when you kind of came up, and I definitely could have punished with other things that would have killed. I
For
tried
sure.
to go for a grab, and I did it again. I did it twice. And then that's when you were like, "You're letting me get away with it so much," and I was like, "Ah."
So
I
you
should
felt like
stop
you
grabbing.
were focusing too much on the grab. That's
Yeah, 'cause,
that's
like that was. Yeah.
definitely a common thing, and it's something I even get into myself. It's very easy to do with Olimar. If I have a blue Pikmin, I'm like, I want to get the throw, I want to get the throw, and then I make it really predictable. It's like you can start going for this idea, but then leaving yourself open to the interpretation and being like, okay, I wanted the grab, but he's kind of just sitting right there giving me the up B. So why not take
Yeah.
that, right? And because you are going to have to compromise sometimes in your play and go, this didn't execute as well as I would have liked, or I didn't do it as well as I would have liked. Something didn't align, But I can still take this scenario and make it in my advantage. And by doing that, you would have been like, okay, well, I can up smash here, I can up B here, I can nair here, whatever out of shield, just not grab because he's not letting me get it. So in these next games, when you find yourself doing that, try and be okay with it. You know, this even kind of touches back on the when we were first talking about it, where you said you felt like you would go for things, or what I noticed, you would like go for things, but you weren't leaving yourself open to the possibility of others. So you were like too dead set on certain things, and it's good that you're recognizing this. And if me calling it out helped do it, fantastic. Either or, it doesn't really matter. The fact that you're recognizing it means you can start getting better and better and better at it. So that's a good start.
Yeah. And one last thing I want to ask. This is a little bit Greninja specific, but not really. Like
Okay.
when you down throw me at that percent where it kind of it sends me up
Yeah.
like
Like a mid-high percent.
just high enough where like you usually read my jump option.
Yeah.
So I think about not jumping, but then if I want to get grounded quickly, sometimes I don't know where to go. I'm like, do I air dodge down, out, in?
It's.
Or do I just
I
try
mean,
to
you're
hold
in a
down?
bad spot, so you might have to not. You might not be able to hit the ground immediately. You could try neutral air dodging.
Oh my god, I never do that. I don't know
It's
why.
so good. It has no lag.
Yeah.
Neutral air dodge is a really great option. Depending on what I'm doing, if you think I'm gonna read it, yeah, neutral air dodge is a great option. You could try up being if you think I'm gonna come in at you, or down B or nair, just something to get me off immediately. But for like getting to the ground fast, I wouldn't recommend being like that all the time, because if you do that and I'm ready for it, I just down tilt or regrab. Because that's
Okay.
a really great frame trap. Sometimes just holding out and maybe going to the legend playing that game could be better as well.
Okay.
See how I use my movement there to scare you into committing?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. No, you're doing pretty solid there. You got some good kills on me early on, and then the big thing that I was noticing that were giving you a little bit of trouble. Um, if I'm able to kind of predict what you want to do out of hits pretty easily, like at a disadvantage. Like you saw, I parried 2 of those back airs. I
Hmm.
know when you want to swing, and that's kind of, oh, excuse me, recognizing on one hand, okay, I'm not able to combo with Greninja in this case because of my own maybe lack of ability with the character, or just because that's how the character works. And then on your end, just because I know you can get out of it, so I'd watch that and maybe I'd try and parry that or dodge it and punish it. But also, my movement's really scaring you, which is understandable. You can't always know what I'm going to do, so I can bait things out for you there. I do see that you're a little slow in the reaction still. Like, I know you tried to shield grab my down tilt one time, and I'm like 100% sure you can punish that. If not with a grab, with something else, because I know Olimar can punish it. Um, so that's one of those ones where you're still trying to react, and that's all right. You're still learning how to really recognize these situations. But when you mess that up, once again, you gotta go like, okay, I tried to shield grab, that didn't work. Let's try something else next time. Maybe a neutral out of shield, maybe an up B or something like that. But need to be asking yourself what you can do to be faster about it. And when we're up close in a scuffle like that, just kind of mentally prepping yourself to be able to punish those things. So you said you play Lucina some. What are the criteria in which you find yourself picking that character?
Um, I don't know. I kind of like. Well, I mean, I never took Smash like that seriously, but
Okay.
like until about Smash 4, I did actually play all 5 games. Funnily enough, the
Oh,
first video
nice.
game I ever played was Smash for the 64.
I got you. I got you.
um, but I don't know. I obviously kind of like sorties.
Yeah.
I liked. Well, despite not knowing, any of the melee tech as a kid, I did play Marth and
Okay. I got you.
melee, and I kind of played everyone in Brawl. I didn't really know what I was doing.
Okay.
Um, but then in Smash 4, I liked Marth for a bit, and then Cloud came out as DLC,
Yep. Yep.
and immediately I was like, oh, this character's awesome, just like
Yeah.
everyone else thought. So,
Yep.
um, but for Ultimate, I don't know what it was. Like, since I unlocked all the characters, Dr. Mario's just kind of been
You
the
go
one I
to.
vibe the most.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
fine. That's totally
but
fine.
I always like sorties. Like when I was trying to think of a secondary, like I saw MKLeo at Genesis, and I was like, oh shit, I want to
Oh.
try Ike,
Yep.
because Path of Radiance is actually my favorite Fire Emblem game for sure.
Okay. That makes sense.
And I was like, oh, he's actually good in this game.
Yeah.
Without really MKLeo being more of a god than anything.
Yeah. He's just insane.
And then I thought about doing Roy, and I kind of almost dedicated to Roy, and then I ended up doing Lucina. I don't really know why. I think I just
That's fine.
wanted to try out
It's definitely
sorties and
totally cool to be like, I just like how you feel. I'm gonna play you. But the
yeah.
reason I ask is because, so, do you have a secondary just because you like to play multiple characters, or do you feel like sometimes it's easier to play with Lucina compared to Doc?
Sometimes it's definitely easier. I haven't gone to as many tournaments as I'd like to.
Yeah.
I actually met you at one. I
Okay.
doubt you remember, but Paradigm
What?
5th 2019.
Oh yeah, I remember that tournament.
I got a picture with it too.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
yeah, that was cool for me.
Okay.
And I'm like from Chicago, so
Yeah.
Iowa was a very close drive for that.
Yeah.
Uh,
All right, that's totally fine. The reason I ask is because maybe we could sit here, if you want to, and identify some scenarios where you might have an easier time, or it might be more worthwhile going Lucina. Because to me, I'm obviously a solo main in how I play Olimar, but counterpicking is very much a type of risk management, right? So it's like I'm counterpicking
Yeah.
because I find it more effective in the moment. So, let's take a second and be like, what are some big trouble matchups for you with Dr. Mario?
oh, I can definitely name those. The people I feel like usually always just kill me are Pikachu's, Shulk's, Min Min. I find really annoying with Doc.
Okay.
It's so hard to get past those arms.
Yeah.
Um, and then I don't like Pit. Pit seems like a weirder one because he's not like as good of a character, but
Okay.
like the wall of like short hop nair and like retreating back air when I'm at kill percent is just very hard to approach for me.
Okay. So All those matchups I can definitely see. Pit's a little bit more unique, but that could also make sense. Dr. Mario, first and foremost, is slow and has a bad recovery, so all of those characters can eat that up. Even Pit, I mean, he's got arrows, he's got multi hits, and sometimes all you need to do is clip someone to make it really obnoxious.
Yeah.
So let's use those four matchups as a way to kind of identify when you'd want to play Lucina. Lucina doesn't struggle in nearly the same way. Sure, character's not perfect and has their flaws, but you can maybe go, all right, well, I like to play Lucina in matchups where I feel the recovery deficit is so large. So when you're fighting Pit, when you're fighting Shulk, when you're fighting Greninja, or not Greninja, sorry, Pikachu, you just go Lucina, and then you identify that. And I just kind of want you to get like a very clear understanding of why you're swapping between them. And some days you might just feel more inclined to play one or the other, and that's fine. It's not like you're cutting edge doing any of this. It's just trying to identify the reasons you do them can oftentimes lead to more effective results, I find. Because if you're just swapping because you're like, this is hard, yes, that might get you a win. But if you're fighting like a Mario, right, and you're playing Dr. Mario, and you want to play Dr. Mario, but you lose, and you're like, I gotta swap. It's like, yeah, Lucina definitely can do it, and it might be easier, but you still didn't fix why you're losing. And sometimes you can make that correction and still win and enhance your ability to win, or teach yourself a lesson out of that without needing to counterpick, right? Because you might counterpick, but your Lucina might be off that day. So it's just, I want you to kind of think about that. I don't really have like a perfect solution for you. It's really your comfortability factor in that. But just thinking like, why am I swapping? And maybe when you fight these characters, don't even entertain the idea of a Dr. Mario if you feel like it's so volatile. Because I've seen.
My biggest one that
sorry, go
for
on.
either character I don't really have a big solution to. It's like for Pikachu, I know why it's rough. Pikachu's just fat.
Pikachu is stupid.
And then when they start bearing me off stage, I'm like, oh god.
So
like a little chance I survived here.
Big things I found that can help against Pikachu, and as Dr. Mario, this might not even solve your problems. You need to be really good at your DI, like really trying to DI those back airs and stuff to get out of them as soon as possible, or to cut those combos short, right? So holding up and away or down and away, depending. Usually up and away, I'd imagine. SDIing them is really helpful. I assume you use tilt stick.
I do, yes.
Okay. I asked because there's a smash stick method of SDI that if you used, I would recommend that. But yeah, just like working on your SDI for those multi-hits can make a big difference. You won't get out of the move per se, but it will make you go farther at the end of the move, and that can maybe cut another one short. Don't burn your jump instantly, because a lot of the times, even with Dr. Mario, if you're in the blast zone, like to the side, and you have your double jump and down B, you could probably make it back. So saving that's really key, and knowing where those combos are falling short. So how many back airs can you eat before the combo ends with good DI, or how many nairs or whatever. So maybe you jump, and then he's coming out, and then you neutral air dodge after you jump. So you're crossing him up while he's going, and then maybe you can up B and get back to the ledge.
Okay.
Those types of... Oh, one sec. Sorry about that. Someone was at the door. Thank you. But yeah, so those little things, like in the neutral air dodge, is so great, especially when you're rising, because it's very little commitment compared to the directional air dodge, and it allows you to kind of just get some invincibility while you're recovering. But identify how they're gimping you, especially even as Dr. Mario, if you end up playing it, which I'm sure you will, at some point. Identify how they're gimping you and how they're making it hard. But not just like try to really hone in on it. The more specific you can be, the better, right? Because if you're like, I get knocked off stage and I die, that doesn't identify anything. That just goes, you're in a naturally bad spot and it goes bad, right? But if you're like, he's back airing me and then this happens, that, what's happening after? Are you burning your jump early? Or is he catching your jump? Well, what if you neutral air dodge first and then you jump, right? So you can try and mix and match different things until you get there. And then in some cases, you will get put in a spot where you don't have an option. So what you can do is you can go a step back and be like, well, how did I get off stage to begin with? Oh, I tried to punish this move wrong, or I hit his shield wrong, and then he comboed me. So you need to watch out how you're doing that. Maybe you hit Pikachu's shield wrong, you get hit by a back air out of shield. Next time, don't do that. So you can break it down piece by piece. You can always go a step back and figure out how you got there to begin with. And you won't always be able to prevent it, but trying to be better about it can help a lot. Something I've really committed to is making my SDI better and doing things like that. And I've gotten very, very good about not dying to Pikachu combos or things like that. I get out of them a lot earlier. I recover a lot earlier. I don't get blown up off stage as much. And recovery is a lot more kind of mobile than yours, but I still don't have a hitbox, so I'm still vulnerable. And while it does happen sometimes, I've really committed to trying to pay attention to how I can navigate past them. And with Dr. Mario, you have to be on top of that. Even with Lucina, in some ways, you have to be on top of that to try and get past it. But look at how you're getting knocked off stage to begin with as well, and I think that'll help a lot.
Yeah. I think my biggest demon is probably Shulk, only because I think in the speed art,
Shulk beats the shit out of Dr. Mario.
I'm like just scared most of the time because he's just faster than me, has more range, and then it's hard to punish his stuff. But the biggest thing, and I'm sure you have to deal with this too with Olimar, is like fair off stage just ruins me. I don't even know what to do about it.
It is the same principle that I just told you for Pikachu. It's one, identify what you can, like, look at your options. Do you have a jump? Do you have this? Do you have this? Neutral air dodge, and then try and get past it. But in Shulk's case, since this is kind of so sweeping, you need to look at how are you even getting off stage. And that is a really bad matchup. Like I'm friends with Uncivil Ninja, the Shulk player from my region, and he eats Dr. Mario's alive. So that might be one where you don't even want to deal with it. You're just like, you know what? I'm just gonna play Lucina. And while you'll still have to deal with fair, you might have more leeway with your AB or with your own airspeed and stuff like that. But looking at how you're getting knocked off stage, a big thing I've learned against Speed Shulk is, one, don't spot dodge. Because if they're naring you like that, like they do it in their neutral, it's really safe. It's hard to punish. So if you, and since it lingers because it has to go all the way around them, it will catch a spot dodge. But what you can do is shield one, ideally parry it. I think if you parry it, you can definitely punish it. But parrying, obviously not easy, but I think it's worth learning for a character like Shulk. But let him hit you with one, and then pay attention to what he does after. Shulk has really low end lag, but very long startup. And that difference is really big, because if he hits you with one there, sure, you won't punish that, but what's he doing after? His fastest option is a frame 5 jab. There's no way you couldn't punish that. So unless he's shielding, or maybe even spot dodging, and to be honest, I doubt he's going to spot dodge, but if he is, it's probably too slow if you do that. You can punish him. I know they like to do like neutral air into neutral air a lot, and if they do neutral air into neutral air, I bet you so much money that you're going to be able to punish that with your own aerial, or like a down B out of shield or something like that if you don't want to go for a committal up B, like a jump short hop down B, because it's so slow. Their grab, it's frame 7. Like, it's just, there are opportunities to punish there, but you have to learn how to identify them, and it's hard when he's in speed, but they will definitely happen. But I would say, even if you're playing Lucina, you can do the same thing. You can be out of shield there. You can do a rising fair, something like that. Just pay attention to how they're acting after they hit you, because that's really what shield pressure is. It's like, sure, there are safe moves on their own, but eventually they're gonna do something that's not safe. They're going to act and it's too slow. They're going to attack with something that's not safe, and those are your moments to where you can punish.
Yeah. I'm a big believer in I know there's some characters that I acknowledge is like harder for me, but
yeah,
one thing that I never like to complain about some characters. Obviously there's some moves that are very annoying.
Yeah.
And I get that.
For sure.
But there are some people I see, at least who I talk to, who there's one I do like him a lot. Mabel. He's a top main.
Gotcha.
I follow him on Twitch. He's very, very good. But the only thing that worries me about him, and I know I can't really speak much for him, but I feel like his mental is always I don't know. He does really well, and he's been doing a lot better online recently.
Yeah.
But a lot of there's so many times where I hear him say Doc sucks, and sure, but I don't know.
No, that's
you can never quite blame it all on that. I am choosing to play this character because I like him. I will deal with everything that comes my way.
I know exactly what you mean. This has been a problem with Olimar ever since Smash 4, where, so in Brawl, Olimar was ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
But in Smash 4, they gave him a heavy-handed hit from the Nerf bat. And that led to, because, I started playing competitive at the end of Brawl, so I got a taste of Brawl Olimar, and then I went to Smash 4, and everyone was like, yeah, this definitely ain't Brawl Olimar. But I still thought he was really good. But a lot of Olimars thought he was not. They were like, he's not good, I'm really pessimistic, yada yada, I don't think he can do it. So I was definitely fighting a lot of people on that stigma as well. And what I found, and this even happened in Ultimate as well, partly because they nerfed him so many times in this game, but also just because he has a lot of glitches and bugs that are a deterrent to playing him, or that ruin the flow of his character, that are really bad, that don't get addressed. So a lot of Olimar players are very pessimistic. It's like, take the Buzz, for example. Great player, super amazing Olimar, right? But he has, like, no faith in the character.
Yeah.
And a mindset I've had to adopt is, like what you said, you can recognize the issues and the flaws, but you can't get worked up on them. And everyone messes up eventually. Some days you're just gonna have to complain because you're mad that your character isn't the way you want them to be.
Yeah.
But on average, it's like, I can recognize that my Pikmin suck, or that this happened and this happened, but I still go, but it was on me. And that's a really good mindset to have. So I think it's good that you're able to recognize that now, because when you commit to a character like this, you have to be able to tell yourself, like, okay, Dr. Mario is not nearly the best character by a long shot. And I get that, but I play him, like you said, because you enjoy him. You recognize his flaws. And if you get into an area where his flaw is present, you have to take a step back, like I was saying, and you have to go, well, I shouldn't have either done this option, or I shouldn't have been there in the first place. And while you can advocate and, make your post online and hope that he gets patched and try and, inform people on his flaws, at the end of the day, when you're playing the game, you have to change it. I play Olimar, and my Pikmin can die on startup, so I can't act out of a parry, right? A lot of the time. They can die. I can whiff my attack. And I hate it. And I complain all the time about it. But I still try to play around it. I still recognize, even if I'm complaining, I have to pick an option. So I think you're in a really good headspace for that. And unfortunately, when top players of a character do that, or they do the other end where they complain, and their mindset's trash, there's not much you can do. Like, there's nothing I can tell to Buzz that's going to make him think Olimar is absurd or as good as I think he is, because except for me just doing it, right? And in DeBuzz's case, he doesn't have to care. He doesn't have to change his way of thinking. He can go play Rosa or Min Min or Palo or whatever. He's not locked into it, and I'm not locked into it, but that's how I like to play the game, so I stick with my character. In Mabel's case, I assume he's a solo Dr. Mario main?
He played. I've seen him play somebody else. I just can't remember.
Okay, well, even if he's not, it's like he doesn't have to play Dr. Mario. Like, at least for me, with Olimar, I firmly believe Olimar is a solo viable character that can win a major, and he has won majors by himself, right? Like, Shuton won Evo Japan. Dr. Mario, it's not that easy. It's kind of like a Ganondorf in a sense, where you're like, okay, he can do these things, but it's like, you're going to have to be on a level that most people don't ever reach if you want to be playing that good. But you can still play him and just reach your own smaller goals, or maybe win a local, or maybe win these other things. But recognizing those flaws is an important part of playing any of your characters. Even players who play Joker or whatever have to recognize that their character isn't perfect about everything. So I think you have a really good mindset there, and that's a great way to look at it. Unfortunately, you can't do much to correct what other people are thinking about the character.
Yeah.
And it's definitely unfortunate. If anything, I would say when you watch those players, take what they do in the game, or maybe how they approach the game, like how they break it down, and look at its interactions, but take what they're saying with a grain of salt. Being like, yeah, I get it, Dr. Mario sucks, but, like, I mean, maybe you just suck.
Well, I always joke with my friend, well, I don't know how I get this, but I was always like, since the beginning, I was like, I promise you, if, like, the only three things that I think that are fair that I would ask for would be, like, a slightly bigger hitbox on up tilt, or a little bit less.
Yeah.
Either a higher up B or, like, a less end lag down B, something like that.
Yeah.
And I feel like a small recovery help, and I feel like Dr. Mario is actually high tier. I do believe it.
Yeah, no, he's definitely held back by
much.
his recovery.
Yeah.
He feels worse than Little Max some days. And that's fair. You can add. I mean, I would consider a laundry list that they have addressed some of, but still a lot not of with Olimar. And I will passionately share it till the day I die, I'm sure. But
yeah, I've seen those tweets. Well, I know, like, you talk about the usually what you tweet about, or at least like in the past, from what I remember, is like the actual kind of glitches, where like the Pikmin don't follow.
Yes. It's like I'm not asking you to fix my up smash to pre-patch. I would love it, sure, but I get that ship has sailed. I want a functional, consistent character, and I don't have that, And Nintendo took that away from me, and I hate it. But I will not stop advocating, but I will also learn to play around it. You can never 100% play around these things. It sucks. You're always going to get put in those spots where it's really bad, or or maybe the character's flaws kick in at that moment and you lose because of some nonsense, right? Or you miscalculate because, like you said, your up tilt hitbox, you thought it would hit, but it was so small it didn't. You can play with the hope that those come and try and do it and pray that Nintendo does it, but if not, it's okay as long as you enjoy playing the
Oh, I
character.
doubt it.
And yeah, and you wanna
The
stick
only
out
thing
with it.
Doc's been touched for is like the Final Smash buff and the projectile nerf.
To be fair, I was very surprised when they fixed my character in 10.0. I was like, oh my god, they noticed.
Yeah.
After like months of nerf. I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, we're never gonna get fixed. But it sucks, and I think the complaining is valid to an extent, right? I want to take a second before we get into the next game because I want to try and focus on the games because I feel like it's just kind of getting lost. It's okay to complain. I think it's a very healthy outlet to deal with the frustration because Smash Brothers is fucking frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
At least when you play in a 1v1 setting, and if you don't play like the best characters, it's just like your flaws hit like a truck. You're like, again, I gotta get him to 30 again. And it wears on you.
Yeah.
So I think it's very healthy. In my stream, whenever they watch it, they know when I lose, I go into like a rant about why I'm losing and how I'm mad about it. Like I'm mad that I lost, and I'm like, I fucking sucked at this. And that's how I do it. That's how I kind of decompress.
Yeah.
So that's normal. But then you have to also use that energy in a constructive way to be like, why am I losing? And if you don't want to deal with that, then don't play the character in like Mabel's case or something.
Mm-hmm.
But in your case, if you want to do it, you can build off that frustration and take that energy and make it productive to work harder. And that's something that I'm trying to do with Olimar right now. I'm playing in a landscape online that's not built for Olimar. Wi-Fi is not an Olimar place.
No, definitely not.
So I have to work additionally hard compared to the Robs, the Sonics, the Wolves. And I'm going to do it, and I'm going to complain along the way because it just helps me not build up all that frustration. But I still recognize at the end of the day that I have to work harder than them. I have to outplay them. I have to come up with new effective strategies to beat them. And that burden of execution is on me. And owning up to that is very important for a character like Dr. Mario. Really anybody, but especially so when your character has more discernible flaws.
I think my biggest problems is, well, like, while I do play this game a lot, back home I have, like, well, I guess I'm at college now. I'm at, like, Indiana.
Okay.
And here, my roommates, like, sadly, I, did not, I don't know, my roommates, none of them, like, one of them kind of likes Smash, the other, they're just not good at it at all, to the point where, like, they don't really like it that much.
Yeah.
And I did, I did go to the IU Smash Club for a couple times, and I went to Full Bloom in that, which was cool actually, because I remember, it's so weird now looking at it, but I remember at Full Bloom, my friend Josh, he's my big friend from back home who like plays a lot too, he'll compete with me sometimes. But he's like, yo, that dude's like climbing a bracket and he's using Game & Watch, and it was this dude I'd never heard of, and it was Meister.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, oh, and nowadays I'm like, well, different story, but
yeah, you hear about it.
And we were gonna go to Full Bloom 2020 as well, but then
stuff happens.
I know. The week after.
Okay. After stuff
COVID hit.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, sadly, I kind of took a longer break than Smash than I should have.
I mean, if you've got other priorities, I definitely don't blame you. The nice thing about Smash is that even if you take a break or something happens, you can always come back to it. Like it literally won't go away. If we can survive everything that happened in 2020 and we're still around, then I think we're more than capable of outlasting whatever timetable someone thinks.
That's true.
But I guess a good question would be, what are your goals? What do you want out of Smash? Do you want to be locally PR? Do you want to win a local? Do you want a top 8? Like what? It can be anything, but having a clear-cut goal is important.
I think my goal is like I just want to be like I want to be active at least in a tournament. Like instead of being the O2 or like the pools drowner kind of thing. Like be able to have the knowledge to like understand more, like beat people. I want to compete. I like being a competitor, and I'm not gonna set absurdly high goals because I know that like with my time, I'm not gonna dedicate
for sure
an insane amount of time to be one of the best. I'm not gonna try to do that. But
You know what?
I
I
don't
want
know.
to play
I
Dr.
think the
Mario the
offline
third.
tournaments are very fun, and at least I have a good friend to go with, like to
No,
bring with
that's
me.
that's totally fair. I mean, you could have been like, "Hey, I just want to be better than the average dude." I'd be like, "Yeah, I got you, man." That's what it is. And the goal of this lesson isn't to give you a miracle cure where you're gonna leave and you're like, "Wow, I'm sick as fuck. I can do everything." It's ideally you leave this feeling better about the game or having gotten something of it. But it's also, and that's why I really started out with the teaching yourself to recognize those scenarios, because that's what has to happen. And I imagine it hasn't been perfect. We're obviously having a lot of different conversation as we're going through talking about different topics. But and I'll recap a lot of this at the end. But that's why it's so important, because you can play with your friends or you can play at a local or whoever, even online, and you can pull from that experience and make it really valid and make sure you're increasing your skill. It's great to just want to go play Smash, be better than the average person, maybe do well in bracket every now and then, not do anything crazy, and then have fun. That's great. That's why most people do it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And part of the fun is winning and the improving. That's why we compete, because it's like I want to test myself. I want to feel that improvement. So that's totally understandable. But it's good that you have that. And I know you said you had to take maybe a break a little bit longer than you wanted, but that means you just got to get back into it. Might have to try a little bit harder, pick up a little bit more of the game, when you have time now. Because in a more intense sense, like when you're really competing at the game, Smash is like a lifestyle, right? So for me, it's like it is like eat, breathe, sleep, Smash. And that's
Yeah.
something I choose. But for you, it could be more like, hey, I have an hour each day or something like that. Maybe I'll play some online, or maybe I'll play with some friends. If it's free time and you just want to play, you don't have to always do it. But that repetition and that effort to really try and improve yourself pays dividends.
Yeah. And now I think I'll be able to be more active with it, because I've found a few people like near me that I can
Nice.
play with,
That's
like
great.
that I see on Discord. And yeah, they're fun to play with.
That's awesome. That's
But
awesome.
like I said, like my other friends back home, at least growing up, like they would all play Smash, like happily do it.
Yeah.
It's just none of them would, be that good or take it that seriously, except for my friend Josh. And that's where I think is another problem with me, which is why I need to go to more locals or just play. I don't like playing online.
Okay.
I don't like being. I guess I am in Elite Smash. Funnily enough, not with Doc. With the cheese characters, I'm in Elite Smash
Gotcha.
with Banjo and Dark Samus. Like you can imagine how that is.
No, I got you for sure.
But yeah, I just need more matchup experience. My friend Josh, he solos Inkling. So
Okay.
I know the Inkling matchup pretty damn well.
Nice.
But I've practiced that matchup for 2 years straight, pretty much.
It's
with him, 'cause I
it's
play against him
not
so often.
it's not like a. I have had that exact same issue. I grew up playing Smash with all of my friends. I played every series, every game in the series since I was a kid too. And like you, when I got into competitive, I got into it with my best friend, and we did it. Obviously, we played all the time. But like my other friends are like, yeah, I don't really want to play with you anymore. You kind of just like we were all close to skill. I might have been better than them, but now when there's a clear divide, they're like, yeah, I don't really want to do that anymore. So I understand, but it's good that you had that friend, and it's even better that you made like new friends you can play locally with. Online is trash, right? It is not the ideal way to play the game, but if you really want to, want to push yourself, it can be a useful tool for improvement, because it can force you to identify habits that you can't rely off of based off reaction alone. And that's why I said, if you can play like an hour a day or even 30 minutes, get some sets in, keep the hands moving. If you lose, be like, well, why did I lose? Sure, lag will come into play, but unless it's like unplayable, you could probably come up with an answer. And just little bits like that, or hit up your friends, be like, hey, you want to play some Wi-Fi, or join up at Discord. Hey, you want to play some Wi-Fi? Get a first to 5 in or something like that. And that steady improvement, that steady effort, will eventually pay off if you're really you're really focused on acknowledging where you're going wrong and doing it. So it's not ideal. And don't play the game if you're not having fun. I always prefer to play in person if I can too. But it's one of those things where it definitely will pay off as long as you're putting in the amount of work for it.
Yeah. And I think I really need some offline to come back, because I think my biggest issue, is that, like, at least at home, I have a way I can kind of fix it. I think I can work it out. But like here at Indiana, obviously I'm using an Ethernet port right now.
Yeah.
But at home, we have one Ethernet port, and it's the one that plugs into the router.
Gotcha.
So our internet is just terrible at
Yeah,
home.
yeah. No, that's a
um,
common problem people have. I mean, it's totally possible that you might not have a solution when you're at home, and that's where you might have to rely on like um, trying to play with other people. I know I've got some friends in Southwest Florida who live in a part where their internet's trash and Wi-Fi is not really a viable option, so they don't play it, and that is unfortunate.
yeah,
And you might have to take a break because of that if you can't play in person. But when you can play at school or something like that, that's when you got to really make the most out of it. Um, but it's totally a valid like concern.
yeah. I might have these. If I can set it up correctly, I have this little thing I got where like you plug in the Ethernet ports into the outlet.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
You take the the one port goes into the router,
Yep.
and I had it. I almost had it like where I plugged it into the wall from the router, but then what I learned after reading the directions was it doesn't work if I'm using an extension cord.
Really?
Because I was trying to figure out why it wasn't working, and like right behind the TV, we have two outlets. One's like for the cable box, and one's for the.
Yeah.
I guess one goes to the TV, and the other one's just an extension cord for like my Switch and I think our like DVD player and
Yeah.
other stuff. But I have no. Oh shoot. Oh. I have no outlet, like
That's weird.
raw outlet
But
that I like. Oh, I barely can't do it unless I
yeah,
move everything.
you might have to jump through some hoops to try and get that working. But hopefully you can. I know I'm very fortunate that I have the router to the house in my room, so I can
Yeah.
just run everything I need to through it. It's also got multiple Ethernet ports on it and stuff like that. I mean, you could, if you really, really cared about having like a super clean connection, you could like look into buying like probably like a third-party router or whatever, set it up in your house, and then have it have multiple Ethernet ports, and then get like a longer Ethernet cord to run it like on your floor or on your roof, kind of like tape it up there and then run it in there if you wanted that. Assuming that's even possible. I don't know the layout of your home and all that, but you definitely are going to have to jump through some hoops, it sounds like. But, I mean, when you go back home, it sounds like you have some friends to play with and stuff like that, so that probably helps offset the need to do that all the time. Or if you're playing just locally, you might not even need a LAN adapter. You might just be able to bite the bullet.
Yeah. Luckily, I have some variety at home too. I think because
Yeah.
the people I've met, they also like Josh does them too now. So I know that who I'm up against would be like Josh's Inkling.
Mm-hmm.
One dude plays Ken. He plays Shotos. So that'll be good practice at least for me. One of the guys plays like a cycle of sorties, mostly Roy.
Gotcha.
And the last dude might play Wario. I don't really know.
Okay, there's a pretty good mix there.
Yeah. So at least that'll help me like not just I don't know get so attuned to one matchup that
Yeah. No, that's great. I know in my region, I'm obviously better than most players, but we got a couple ones that have gotten pretty solid in terms of practice. Until Ninja Shoal, we got like Akashic's Greninja / Ridley here and things like that. We have a Fox player here, and it's all pretty helpful. It's not the best, but you know, it better than nothing. And that's the important thing. Just sometimes keeping your hands fresh can do it a lot. But that's why I like online so much, because I live in a region of Florida that's unfortunate. I live in a region of Florida that's not the most dense. Like, we're our own region, but we're not like huge tournaments. So sometimes practice can be scarce, and Wi-Fi helps supplement that. So something I want to point out that I'm doing with Dr. Mario, and the reason I wanted to go Dr. Mario is I don't play the character nearly as much as you, right? But things I'm hitting you with are like, I'm waiting. It's a lot of timing stuff, or maybe I'll like microspace something to where it's like when I down B your shield and then I drift out at the end or something, and you try and shield grab because you're so hardwired into that response that it's letting me get a lot of punishes on you. And I'm a lot faster to like hit like up smash out of shield and up B out of shield and stuff. And that's, I'm trying to just show you different like how important stuff like that can be, just like mixing your opponent up with stuff they might not expect. Like that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's switching up smash. don't know why I went for that, but there we go. Gosh, I didn't hit my stick.
Ooh.
I keep fucking up my punish just so bad on that.
Ooh. Damn, you've outspaced me with down smash twice now.
Yep.
Just like that.
Yep.
And that is not something I ever think about when I play.
That's and that's something you can pull through. And
Yeah.
I'm not Dr. Mario. Maybe you're like, well, if they're gonna whiff punish, I'll down smash him on a jab like that or something. That's not gonna work against Link. He's gonna be like, I have a sword. But against a boxer like Dr. Mario, or regular Mario, you can be like, oh, I could try this. And it's good that you notice that. 'Cause that's once again that's you kind of catching these things. And I feel like your biggest weakness with your Dr. Mario is you get into these really linear paths with how to play, and you don't really open yourself up to the possibilities of what you can do. Like you keep it very straightforward. Like I attack here, I defend here, but you don't let yourself like just timings and general spacings can do so much to really push your character and make them a lot more threatening. Oh, alright. Oh, I thought I was gonna be facing the other way for a back here. Oh, no.
Oh no.
No, I didn't. I wanted to run and grab, but I accidentally ran off and air dodged. Oh man, that's unfortunate.
Also, one thing that randomly just crossed my mind is something that I don't do because I can never really implement it cleanly. Well,
Wait.
one thing that I never really try to do is like pivot grabs.
Yeah.
I don't know if Doc's is that good.
That's the Olimar in me speaking. I think that the years of pivot grabbing with him that I just tend to go for those a lot. So I don't know the validity of. I mean, it's definitely a technique you can and should use if it's gonna work, right? If you get a grab, why not maybe do something off it? But I don't want to be like that's the thing to do with Dr. Mario. But if you can, it's worth being able to do them all, right? So if you can find ways to do it and land them, it's definitely worthwhile.
It's just like a quick flick back after moving in a direction and grabbing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's very similar to how you. Here, I can show you real quick. It's very similar to how you do a pivot smash or pivot tilt. You just run one direction, flick the stick back, then press your button.
And the other tech that I feel so stupid for this because it seems like it should be really easy, and I do it on accident all the time. But to like have good control over my wall jump. Like I know you just have to go to the wall and then you flick away from the wall.
I use a. Here, 1 second.
Like that. Okay.
Oh, 1 second. This is a terrible stage to do it on. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like flicking away from the wall. That's something you could definitely get down if you went in training mode and was like, how do I get this down? I think that'd be really good for you. But yeah, just kind of, so whatever way you're facing, you just kind of bounce off of it.
Yeah. Because I've seen, like, oh, shoot. Mabel, that guy I was telling you about, like, when he plays on Kalos in tournament.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen him do it a lot to recover, or help Doc's recovery. And I don't know. I like get it. You know, you flick. Oh shoot.
Yeah.
You flick away, but then whenever I'm in the if I'm in that situation, or let's say I have to like tech the side of the wall or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's really hard for me to even.
There are times where I do mess them up. I think you need to make sure you're doing your stick right. I also don't think you can do it out of tumble. So you need to make sure your character's in their normal state. Don't quote me on that. That's just a theory. I don't play a character.
Probably right,
I don't play a character with a wall jump, so I don't do it too often. But I would go in training mode on like Kalos, and I would really play around with it and get super comfortable with it. Before you really try and do it, because you don't want to like lose stock on tournament for no reason. Because on a stage like this, it can be a little weird if you like try and go in too much and then you just miss. But definitely something that can be remedied with just some practice. But same thing with pivot grabs too. Like you're running and then you just flick the stick and hit the grab at the same time the other way.
Yeah.
Alright, let's play. I'm really surprised that's sour spotted.
Too actually.
Ooh, nice parry.
Oh, I guess that's another thing I never think to do ahead of time. Footstooling.
It's scary. I mean, it's
I feel like just stomping is a lot more easier.
Yeah, I think it depends on the character you're trying to footstool. There's certain ones where it's like worth doing, like a Yoshi, right? Super great to do it too because it'll be so bad, or maybe like a Puff or someone like that. But a lot of the times, especially with a character like Dr. Mario, you better be confident, because if you mess it up, you can die. But also, I mean, if they're in the middle of something, you get a phantom footstool, and then it's kind of like not the best. Whereas if they're not doing something, that's when you can really intercept them. Oh no! No! Not what I wanted. be alright. We'll be alright.
No! You're gonna die too.
Oh man, that was pretty good that game. I felt it definitely feels like it helps when I recommend it maybe in prior games or like just recently when I get like, oh, doing your out of shield options better or with punishing or things like that. I feel like you're a little bit more aware, which is good because that means obviously you're reactive to the guidance. But just making sure that you're kind of keeping track of it on your own. And I think a good way to do that when I'm not there to tell you every time or something like that is just mentally saying it, having that conversation with yourself after the games when you're losing, like, what I do wrong, what I do here, and things like that. It's like when you learn something, you know how saying stuff out loud helps you memorize it. I'm not saying you have to do that. You don't have to say it out loud. But that type of commitment makes recognizing those things way easier. If you want, I can go Olimar some games for the end of it. It's up to you, though.
I'm gonna show off just show you my Lucina for a few games.
Oh,
just
perfect. I'll go someone else here. Let me see how I want to go.
But I would love to play your Olimar.
Oh, you want to play the Olimar? Okay, all right.
Yeah, well, I want to do it with Doc too.
No, for sure. But yeah, those types of things, and you won't always have an answer, and that's okay, because you don't need to have a solution per se. You just need to figure out that you're losing and recognize that.
Okay. I feel like I've never played a good Olimar.
Oh, we're in for a treat.
Yeah.
You always want the DI down throw out, by the way.
You always want to...
DI down throw out.
Yeah, down throw out?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like the attempt there. Just weren't ready for the cross up.
Ooh, wow. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, double purple bridge
Yep.
shield.
Yep.
Yep. I was gonna say I
That's
learned that from you. I should know that.
yeah. That's the it. It doesn't matter what player it is. Not they always forget eventually, and when they do, I'm there. Um, but yeah, big things with Olimar. You want to watch out. Don't DI the down throw in because you get bared and you'll die mad early in some cases. Try to be careful about tech rolling in. I mean, sometimes it's the best option, but you know, you also just like in that case, I was ready for the up smash. I read it. Um, so it's kind of like you gotta be careful about that stuff, but it's definitely hard. I like the up B's on a shield though. You seemed a lot more like ready to go for him with Lucina compared to the Doc.
I think that's just because I've warmed up with the doc now. Like we're
Okay, that's true.
now that you've reminded me, or like got me going. I'm just gonna translate it to
Yeah,
Lucina.
play into those strengths. That's the important thing. And Olimar definitely doesn't have the best shield pressure, so there's a lot of times where you can do it if I'm not really careful.
Ooh, what was that?
Wave dash back.
Huh.
Ooh. Almost got me.
Yeah, one thing I wasn't expecting a forward air there, but one thing I almost did before, but I fucked it up because I did side B on accident instead of down B. But I was trying to look for if you have because you are throwing a lot of Pikmin. If you have a purple in front, or if I
Yeah.
know you're about to have a purple in front, I try to predict a counter, or like in case you throw it.
Okay. Um,
I don't know if that's a good idea or
It
not, but
it can be if I overshoot. Just be careful because when I throw that purple, I'm not committing to
Mhm.
any hit lag myself. So I throw it, it hits you, you trigger. I can
Yeah,
since I'm not frozen at all. If it's a side B, I can just be like, nah, I'm gonna get out of here, or I could air dodge, or I could spot dodge. So it definitely has its use, but you got to be careful about it because if I'm not already committed in the next option, like a forward air or something like that, you're just gonna end up
Mhm.
maybe opening yourself up. Sometimes swatting them away is just the best option because they're gonna clank. Like if you forward air and I side B with a purple and they hit each other's hitbox, that clanks, you're fine. You also run the risk of just hitting the Pikmin, or I do. Of you just hitting the Pikmin and potentially killing it or knocking it out of side B. So swatting them away can be really good. Dodging them can be really good. Shielding
yeah,
obviously has its own use. You just gotta be careful. Um, the counter definitely is more of a niche option. I wouldn't rely on all the time.
yeah. Cool. Alright, if I'm hitting Pikmin off my body, does that extend my hitbox?
Yes.
Like it when you hit other?
Yes.
Okay. Oh boy.
Oh, I'm in the floor there, not there.
Damn.
No, Lucina's not too bad. Definitely can tell. Yeah, like you said, you're probably more warmed up with it, and also Lucina's just a better character, so you're able to get away with more things. You might have an easier time approaching, stuff like that. I don't know if you want to go doc for the last few games now, just since
Yeah.
we're getting up there, and then I'll kind of give some closing thoughts. On one hand, I feel a little bad because I felt like I wasn't as on top of everything as I could have been because we were having a lot of different discussion this session.
Yeah.
But I will definitely try and give you something to leave this with and work on, because that's what, like I said before, this is really about. It's making sure that you kind of have the tools to teach yourself in the future, or at least have an idea of where you can go.
Mm-hmm.
3, 2, 1, go!
I'm really surprised. Honestly, what happened there was it hit the Pikmin, not the hurt box, or hit the hurt box, not the hitbox. So that's why I didn't clank. I was so surprised by that. Because the purple's side B hitbox is actually slightly smaller than its model.
Huh. Oh.
Oh, I didn't dare not to help. Gotta be careful when, especially against like Olimar, because he's got that perfect like throw you back there, something like that. And if you just try and drift in
Yeah.
like normal, I run off dare, really easy to catch you with that. But that's something that you probably just aren't ready for, so it makes sense that you wouldn't,
Yeah.
catch it. But then you
I
wouldn't.
saw you leave and I tried to like see if I could up B, like the beginning of up B to just
Yeah.
beat it. That's sometimes my strat for off stage, which
Okay.
is not, sometimes works, sometimes doesn't, which
Yeah.
is probably not a great thing, but
It's rough because unlike regular Mario, you don't have invincibility on your up B. So you have to be a little bit more, like, you run the risk of trading like you did, I think, the second stock is where, like, we traded the B to the down air.
yeah.
I mean, sometimes it's better just to DI away and then drift out and then try and recover that way, right? Because if you DI out and drift away, there's no way that that down air is catching you, and then you can try and jump and recover some other way. Definitely a little slow there.
Yeah, I was slow.
But I also, in my defense, I try to like make my jab as uncomfortable timing-wise as possible, so you're never sure when the second jab is gonna come out or something like that. So that's normal, and that's just one of those things where it's hard to be perfect, but you work towards it next time because you had the right idea. The execution was just not on point.
Mhm.
You gotta remember to watch the lineup so you don't get grabbed by the blue.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's better just to let the Pikmin tick if you're in a really risky spot. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for once I didn't do that. You got it in. Damn, I thought that was gonna go under me.
So I'm noticing that a lot of the time when I'm knocking you off stage with my Olimar, because I tend to go out there a lot more often than my other characters just due to comfortability and stuff, you're not even ready for whatever I'm going. The fairs, the the down airs, the side Bs or whatever. And that's just one of those things where I highly recommend you always feel threatened off stage. Doesn't matter. Like, not necessarily have to
Yeah.
panic, pick an option, but be watching your opponent. If you hyper focus on yourself, it's easy to let a purple like that, where you just like, nah, that probably won't hit me, and then bam. Because I'm throwing it with the intention of hitting you, right? So it's like, sure, I can mess up, but if everything goes according to my plan and you don't respond perfectly, you could die. And that's how I catch a lot of people with the side Bs.
Yeah.
So it's that.
I can actually tell you my thought process there
Sure,
too.
let's hear it.
Because when you took I think it was the second stock. I think it was the second stock. Yeah.
Okay.
I think the first stock was the throw. You got my jump in an edge guard,
Yeah.
and I was like, shoot. So on that final moment there, what I was actually thinking as soon as you threw me is like, I'm gonna save my jump this time,
And then it was
so I don't get rid of it.
the other
And
answer,
then-
the other option.
Yeah.
That could have been, and something you could do uniquely, Olimar, is you could have nared there.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna clank, right?
Yeah.
So there, you could have clanked. You could have nared to clank. You could have immediately gone to the down B, try and do it that way to get the recovery, not burn your jump. You could have potentially neutral air dodged. So
True.
I liked how you were attempting to do something different, which is good. So you recognized it. You just maybe miscalculated the situation.
Yeah.
So in the next example, you'll have to be like, okay, I can't do this. And that's the hard thing about Olimar. Like, I didn't do the same type of edge guard. I went for something very different, but similarly as effective. And that's why if you pay attention, like really focus on me, you'll be like, oh, he's throwing a purple. I gotta, you don't want to hope I'm gonna miss. You want to know I'm gonna miss. So you started out that stock really well, but I started to get an idea of when you wanted to swing, and that's why, like, there I hit you, and I was like, he's gonna counterattack. He's been doing that out of my hits. Shield, get my punish. So that's the type of thought process. Oh, that's really good. That's the type of thought process I had in the time where you were kind of catching me off guard in a lot of cases, so I can make that quick adjustment.
Oh my god, I missed out.
Figured as much.
Ooh.
good attempt. Just I liked how you were ready for the purples that time. You knew jump,
Yeah.
and then I came out there, and obviously that was a time where you got into a spot where you really didn't have an answer, right? You were kind of so you maybe have to go a step back. How'd I get there? Because I did something
Yeah.
very tailored to what you did. I whistled the hit, faired you. That's exactly what I wanted. But I felt like that game you were playing it really well, even kind of adjusting. I know I called out the first stock how you were doing the jabs, and I called onto that, and then you kind of made your own adjustments. And you definitely had a couple errors there. I added in some patience on my end that I think threw off your general timings because you were kind of a little trigger happy and like I'm ready to hit him when he hits me now, but I just wouldn't give it to you all
Yeah.
the time. But that's the give and take of the game, and that's something you have to train yourself to be better at. So that it's not I'm ready to jump the moment I think it's going to go, but I'm ready to jump when I need to go. But you've made really good progress, especially from the first game we played. I felt like you're a lot more in tune to things and you're catching them even if slowly.
Mhm. How advantageous is like, so I noticed that when I don't think I can punish you, I pretty much always just continue to hold shield.
Uh huh.
Um, like, I assume it's a lot more uh, advantageous to, like just jump away
It can be. It
when the,
depends on what I'm doing. Shielding you have to be careful for. I would say it's very dependent on my lineup. Like, am I gonna grab you? If
oh
I don't,
yeah, if you have a blue out, then
or if it's at a percent where I make it a combo. If I have two purples, shielding's a death wish. Um,
yeah,
so it's one of those you have to pay attention. But if it's like a red, you might not need to worry about it, or a yellow or something. I can still combo you off those guys for sure, or get just regular throws. But it might be better than taking a regular hit. Sometimes that extra patience is really good because my throw is frame 12, or my grab is frame 12, so it's not fast. And if I whiff it, I have a lot of lag. So I try not to throw it out unless I'm very sure. And that might be an example where, rolling away or something could be good. Spot dodging is a little more meh, just because if I grab at the same frame you spot dodge, my grab actually wins. Because it outlasts your frame data for the intangibility. But you don't want to just get stuck in shield, but instead look at the game state like, oh, this is what's happening right now. This is the lineup I can do this. That's unfortunate.
can't get him.
See, I did the neutral air dodge there. Really solid recovery option.
I did it again. I tried to save the jump. I gotta watch for that.
Yep. It's not easy, and you will definitely mess up sometimes and just not realize it. But that's part of the learning process. So I think we can end it on that game, and we kind of discuss some stuff. I can recap things and just kind of give you a game plan of what I want you to try and be working on in the future.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely saw some improvement between the session, even though I didn't break everything down. I think giving you a general idea of the concepts is really good. Um, the the constant need for accountability on what you're doing is really important. So when you mess up or when something happens, you're like, why? You always want to ask yourself why. Sometimes it'll happen after the game. Sometimes it'll happen after the stock, right? Or sometimes it won't even be a stock loss. It'll be like, you tried to do something and I knocked you away to the blast zone. I knocked you away real quick, or you're getting comboed, and you can ask yourself, how did I get here? But learning to kind of break that autopilot and break that muscle memory and zone in mentally is really good because that allows you to pinpoint why you're messing up or what's going wrong better, because you can compare it directly to what your game plan was and how it didn't go as you expected. That also kind of feeds into looking at the game state in general, and we were talking about kind of like my Pikmin lineup as a really good indicator of where that is, right? Like, should I shield if there's a blue or a purple or a red? Those are great ways to tell what can happen, or at least get a better idea. Sure, I can forward smash you with a blue. I do it to people all the time if they expect a grab, right? But that taking the time to look at the game and not hyper focus on yourself is really important, because if you don't do that, then you're just kind of get lost. So I think paying attention to that, and I noticed you were doing it a little bit after the like after I hit you with that purple side B and stuff, or after I knocked you off stage and gimped you, you would kind of adjust and be like, oh, I shouldn't try this. And I think that was really good. You just have to keep doing that, and it's not always going to be as obvious as like Olimar side B or something that's color coded as that, right? It might be like a Link throwing their bomb out there, or something like that, or an Inkling running off stage. But just don't hyper focus on yourself and look at the game state. And on the other end of the spectrum, you can use that in a way for your advantage. You can be like, oh, my opponent's on his last stock, at 150%. He's shielding a lot. Maybe I can get a grab, or oh, maybe he's too scared to shield. I can read his jump and use that type of information to influence what you're doing. And that's how I view the game, at least. I try to pull as much information as I can from all the different facets of it to take more educated guesses in what I do, because you can never be 100% certain.
Yeah.
But so going forward, when you're practicing either online, which I definitely recommend doing when you're at the university if you can. I think just if you're not playing with anyone else, that is, right? I think it's a good way to keep your kind of hands warm, so to speak, and keep yourself trying things. Maybe get your dock into Elite Smash, hit up some friends if you want to play with them, do something like that. But the biggest thing is that you keep playing, because if you stop, it's going to be harder for you to find that growth.
Yeah.
And then when you're doing it, like I said, just really make sure you're actively like talking to yourself in your head almost, and acknowledging those mistakes or when things go wrong or something. But I think that's the biggest thing for you, because it's going to help you stop being very linear, which is one of your more outward flaws that I notice. It's like, oh, you always do this, or you don't mix this timing up, or you always go for the spacing, and that will work until it doesn't. And when it doesn't working, once you train yourself to start recognizing, you can go, ooh, what if I space this a little differently? What if I mix this timing up a little differently? Because you only have so many options, so you have to get very creative with with the finite amount of things you do have. Do you have any questions or anything like that?
None that I haven't really gone over already. I can't really think of any more.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're in a spot where a lot of practice will do you good, like dedicated practice, not just like mindlessly playing the game. So whether it doesn't need to be like 8 hours a day or anything, just short bursts of really trying to push yourself and kind of question why things aren't working is going to do a lot for you right now, and it's going to help you learn better. And maybe you're going to watch Mabel now, or another player, and you'll be able to watch them, and you might be a little bit more inquisitive on figuring out why things are working. Not just, oh, that worked, but you can be like, why did that work? And maybe try and figure out the situation in your head so that you can maybe replicate it later on. But I'll get this lesson uploaded to you by the end of the week. Probably by the end of the weekend at latest, depending on how busy I am, and then I'll send it your way so you can watch it back whenever you want or anything like that. And if you ever have any like questions or something like one off the top of your head you're wondering, don't hesitate to shoot me a message. I'm happy to answer it.
All right, thank you.
No problem. But yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Hope it helps. Definitely, it takes time to really see the results, because it's always hard to tell when you're improving, right? Because it's usually little things that add up. But just really being on top of your character's strengths and weaknesses, keeping in mind what they are, the out of shield game, your recovery, whatever it is, and trying to play around them is going to do you a lot of favors, I think. But,
Okay.
yeah, great session, and I will let you know when this lesson is uploaded.